Hey everyone, I want to take a moment to talk about something really important: mental health and addiction. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health or drug addiction, especially if they're facing chronic relapses or have a history of bouncing in and out of treatment centers, I want to recommend Baja Rehab. Baja is a premier lockdown treatment center located just 45 minutes from the San Diego border in beautiful Mexico. I've had the opportunity to visit their facility, and I can tell you firsthand it's not only stunning, but also equipped with everything needed for recovery. They offer comprehensive medical detox and have a dedicated team of drug counselors and specialized therapists. If you are ready to take the first step towards healing, call Shalom, the intake director, at 619-855-6368. That's 619-855-6368. Your loved ones deserve a second chance, so don't wait until it's too late. Reach out to Baja Rehab today. Nobody Plans on Dying has officially launched their nonprofit organization that is geared towards bringing awareness to this fentanyl overdose epidemic in the hopes of breaking cycles and saving lives. Join us in the premiere of the first documentary, June 21st, at the Digital Gym Cinema. Our goal is to bring this into every school to educate our youth and provide intervention services and resources that are so badly needed. Come support this mission. Gather in fellowship in the lobby following the documentary. Food, merchandise will be available. As a community, we can break the cycle by working together towards this common goal. If you have any teenagers, grab them a ticket and bring them out. If you've known anyone that lost their life to an overdose, then consider purchasing a ticket for yourself and making a small donation that could really make a difference. We are stronger together as a community to break these cycles and turn tragedy into purpose. Go visit the website nobodyplansondying.com to purchase your ticket and make a donation today. This is the Fuck Fentanyl guy letting you know if you or a loved one is injured in a motorcycle accident, then call 1-800-Lawtigers for a free case evaluation. We are available 24/7. That's 1-800-Lawtigers. With over $1.5 billion recovered in verdicts and settlements. Nobody got your back more than Lawtigers.
Yeah. Hey, I was stuck inside that grave a long time. Didn't think I'd make it through those long nights. But you never late, you always on time. Remember when you got me out there? You got me out there. And now I see your blessings every day. Thankful that your kingdom's on the way. Angels all around me, hear them sing like, oh, I'll never get used to this. I'll never get used to this. This is how I wanna live.
Yeah. Forrest Frank.
Yes. I'm obsessed.
Never get used to this. That's actually pretty catchy. I liked it. I don't listen to Christian music ever, but that sounds nice.
His album's been on repeat. I'm super obsessed with him. Yeah.
My name is Luis Romero. I'm the Fuck Fentanyl guy, and this is the Fuck Fentanyl podcast. This was awesome. We got Brittany in here. Hey. One of the, one of the people I really originally wanted on here, like when I first started this thing. And I'm glad that we were making it happen
Here
today.
we are.
Here we are.
Like 2 years later.
2 years later. It don't fucking matter. It happened.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. Where can we start? I guess we could start with just the whole like Christian thing alone. Like the you became a Christian recently.
Super recently.
Very recently.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I guess. And probably pretty crazy for people like you or other people that kind of know me or what I used to be about.
I was shocked initially.
Yeah.
I think I saw it on Facebook and I was like, oh, fuck. Getting baptized. Holy shit.
I know. I was called out by name.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a trip and it's I feel super blessed. It's an awesome, little journey I'm on.
Yeah. Yeah. And now you listen to Christian music only?
Only. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And all right. So where were you from, Brittany?
Right here. I'm from right here in Chula Vista.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Gang.
Yeah, fuck yeah. How long did you live here for?
I grew up here until about middle school.
Oh, okay.
So,
What middle school you went to?
Castle Park.
Fuck.
Yeah.
That's a rough one. I couldn't go there. It's too dangerous.
Yeah.
That's what my mom told me, seriously.
It was a little sketchy, you know?
I grew up like a block away from it.
Yeah. Was that the school you're supposed to go to?
I was supposed to go to,
Yeah.
but now they made me go to Hilltop.
Yeah.
The nice
Yeah.
school.
The nice school.
Yeah. It's mellow.
It was hard being like, you know, I'm Mexican, you know, but like
Right.
I'm like I don't look Mexican.
No,
I
yeah,
don't
no.
speak Spanish
No.
really. But I've always like super identified that way, like because my family is super Hispanic
Yeah.
with the culture and,
Right.
and everything. So out the gate, I kind of just felt like I didn't really have a place in this world, and that all started right there in
Yeah.
school. You know, I was always the stupid white girl, and I was like, wait a minute, you know.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh fuck, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. School sucks.
Kids are mean.
Kids are mean. They're
Yeah.
fucking little assholes, dude. Savages.
Yeah.
And when did you start at like alcohol and drugs and all that?
I think it was like the summer going into my freshman year of high school.
Okay.
I had friends that like, I don't know, were more exposed to that life than
Sure.
I was. I was
Right.
pretty sheltered up until that point.
Yeah.
Probably overly sheltered.
Mhm.
And it all started like, you know, drinking vodka in the park or
Yeah.
like, you know, like stealing our parents' alcohol
Yeah.
and filling it up with water. And
Right.
at that time, I smoked weed as well.
Yeah.
Nothing crazy. I don't think anything got really super out of hand until I was like, I don't know, in my early 20s.
Mm.
And I had my sophomore year of high school, I moved
Yeah.
out to Oregon to live with my dad.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
my mom was in a super abusive relationship or marriage
Yeah.
growing up out here. And so I was kind of always, you know, had my mindset on living with my dad. And
Yeah.
it took a few years of like court battles and stuff like that. But my sophomore year in high school, I was able to move out to Oregon to be with my dad. And the partying continued. You know,
Yeah.
I drank heavily throughout high school, and that was just normal. You know, it was what the other kids were doing.
Right.
I smoked a lot of weed.
Mhm.
I will say that I did recognize that like there was something different about me and most other kids. Like,
Oh, okay.
you know,
You already felt like
people were just kind of doing it to have fun, but
Yeah.
I felt a level of dependency, you
for
know.
sure. Like
So,
you were. Yeah, this was like your everything
yeah,
to do this.
yeah. Like I couldn't do anything without,
Yeah.
you know. And I was always wanting to do more than everybody.
Right.
And I also functioned a lot better doing more than other people.
Yeah.
You know. So it felt super normal to me. I don't think I knew anything about addiction at that time, other than recognizing that I was a little bit different.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that like just not fitting in.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
Yeah.
Even to this day as an adult man.
I think that that's a lot of us addicts.
Yeah, right.
You know?
It's like, oh God, I don't belong here. Like
I still have feelings like that, you
Right.
know? It's something that I work on regularly, you
Mhm.
know?
No, yeah, absolutely. And so, how long did you live in Oregon for?
So I moved out there, I believe I was 14, turning 15.
Mm-hmm.
So going into my sophomore year of high school, and I lived out there until 2012. So some years. I think it was like 12 years.
12 years? Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good minute.
Hmm.
And Oregon there's like there's a lot of drug use over there.
Yeah, I don't think that I don't
You
think
weren't
that I
exposed to
really recognized
Nah, you
it
just
like that.
Yeah.
It was
Okay.
nothing compared to like what I seen when I came here.
Really? Okay.
But like I said, back
Maybe
then
you weren't looking for it.
it was, and the things that I did see was like super normal. Like now I know, like,
Yeah.
it's not normal to buy a bunch of oxys and
Yeah.
crush them up and
Uh,
snort them,
no,
or like
no,
to
no.
like do a bunch of cocaine
Oh,
all the
shit.
time.
Uh-oh.
Like, but back then it was very much
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
normal.
Ain't no thing.
Um, so I don't think I recognized it like
No.
that. Yeah.
When did you start using oxys?
Um, it was shortly before I moved out here because
Really?
things had spun
No
out of
shit.
control pretty quickly.
Oh, okay.
I want to say like my dad passed away in 2009
Oh,
from
okay.
kidney cancer, and if I remember correctly, I think like my first exposure to doing oxys was like taking his
His medicine?
yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, he would like, give me like one or two if I like had pain or something. I don't,
Yeah, here you go.
and I didn't really like it. I remember that. I remember, he would give them to me and I would like trade them for like weed, because
Right.
that's really what I wanted to be
Right,
doing.
right.
I think around that time though, I had gotten in a relationship with somebody who very much loved to do pills.
Yeah.
And I kind of just, slid into that life. I don't think I
Oh.
liked it at all for a while.
You
though.
weren't into it before you met that person?
No, but I'm super codependent.
Oh,
so,
no. How did that happen?
yeah,
Oh, fuck. Wow. So I did want to backtrack just a tiny bit. So like before Oxycontins, was it like drinking and weed? Was that like a kind of becoming a problem?
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was always a problem. I did a lot of cocaine too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
And like I said,
Hey,
it just felt really
hey.
normal, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so I drank a ton. I did a bunch of cocaine. I was, 19 years old, hanging out with my big brother in the bar.
Yeah.
A lot.
Yeah. At
It
19?
was pretty out of hand. I mean, like, I told you my dad passed away in 2009.
Yeah.
My drinking had gotten so severe at that time that I got like 3 DUIs in
Oh, I
a
remember you
span
telling
of,
me this. Yeah.
months.
Months. Shit, dude.
And so even though I didn't maybe recognize it at the time, like it was a problem.
Right.
You know?
Maybe it seemed normal when it was happening.
It did. I looking back, like I can see like it was not normal, but that's how I felt
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
then. Maybe I just wanted it to be normal, or
Yeah.
and I felt like my life was kind of manageable back
Yeah.
then, which like it was compared to how it would later get,
Right.
but it also wasn't. Like that I can't picture that being my life now, like waking up hungover,
Right.
calling out sick from work because you can't stop throwing up,
Right.
or like
Right. Even just that lifestyle.
yeah.
Wow. No, yeah. It's like just keep on the party going.
Yeah.
Keep it going. Keep it going.
Yeah. It was very much like that for me.
Yeah.
For a long time.
Yeah.
But even then I had this like, I had not really been exposed to like people doing like, the drugs that I would later come to love, like meth and heroin.
Yeah.
I
You
just
weren't
had
around
this
it.
like idea, like, ew, like
Oh yeah, for sure.
That is so gross.
Gross, yeah.
Gross people do that.
Yeah.
And they're like drug addicts and dirtbags.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
like,
No, not you.
and I
Not
don't
you.
want people like that around me.
Yeah.
And,
Shit.
which is really funny.
Yeah,
ironic,
there's a
you
little
know?
sense of irony to it.
not realizing like how bad
Yeah. No, I felt the same way.
I was,
Yeah.
in the things that I was doing.
Yeah, when I first saw like somebody do heroin when I was like 15, I was like, "Oh God, what the fuck, man!"
Yeah.
It looked like somebody put shit in a fucking
Yeah.
rig and just like shooting it up and
Yeah. So
And-
weird. And
and-
who wants to feel like that?
yeah.
Well,
I was like, "Ooh, no way, dude!" And then they're like, "Oh, I got Hep C and I'm in prison and I get sick when I don't use it."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Oh, I don't want any of that. I don't
Right.
want any of that."
right? Little did we know that later in life that would be
Yeah.
the normal.
The normal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
The what was like that saying? The cucumber turned into a fucking pickle.
Yeah. And there's no going back.
There ain't no
Yeah.
going back. No. I wish I would have listened. There was a couple of them that was telling me not to do it. Not too many, but a couple of them were like, "No, I don't do this stuff." But it was already too late. Like, you know what I mean? Like I did it, and it was like
Yeah.
instant love.
Yep.
Instant.
It happens fast.
Yep.
Yeah.
Dang. So so why did you move back down here?
Well, okay,
Yeah.
so I told you I had that boyfriend that loved the pills.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
And it makes me sad to talk about him because he's no longer
Oh
here.
shit. Oh.
But things, I don't know. It was kind of intense,
Mhm.
like watching his addiction kind of just play out, but
Yeah.
but it would be scary. He would
Yeah.
he would get so messed up that it was scary. And now like I'm new to this, so like, and I've never been really like a nodder offer or like a like an overdose, or I don't
Yeah,
know. I
yeah.
feel like some men it happens to really bad, and he
Oh,
was one of
dude.
them.
Yeah, yeah. For sure. There's always that
And-
one.
So things just started to spiral out of control. Things became like really unmanageable really fast. And I don't honestly, one day something happened that really scared me. We were like, we had like a second floor apartment kind of like this with
Yeah.
the balcony.
Sure.
And I was leaning against the balcony.
Yeah.
And he started to fall out really bad. And
Yeah.
he was a big dude, like 250-pound bodybuilder,
Uh-huh.
big dude.
Big dude. Yeah.
And he fell out on me.
Oh shit.
And we both almost went over the balcony.
Oh,
And I,
fuck.
that scared me bad enough. Like I called my mom the next day and I was like, I think it's time for me to come back there. My dad's
Yeah.
passed away. I didn't really have anything out there
Yeah.
other than this boyfriend and partying.
Mm.
It just scared me enough to like, I thought like maybe if I just go, I can kind of change my life a little bit. Like this
Yeah.
is getting scary. This is not for me.
Yeah.
So my mom drove out like that week and she brought me back here to San Diego
Wow.
where
wow.
I had big plans to, kind of change things up a
Oh,
little
yeah,
bit.
yeah. You wanted something different coming down and coming back down home.
Yeah,
San
I
Diego.
mean, I wanted something different, but I don't think that I was really ready or wanted
Right,
to change
right.
what
That's
I
a-
was
that's
doing.
an entirely different story,
so
for sure.
Really, I just came out here and, I got a bartending job in Ocean Beach right
Oh,
away,
cool. Nice.
and so obviously I
Around alcohol.
continued to drink really heavily.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how hard it would be to quit pills.
For sure.
I experienced being sick,
Oh, the
like
witch
dope
trials.
sick for the
Yeah,
first time.
Yeah.
So, and this was like in a time where it was still kind of easy to like go to the doctor and get
Oh yeah.
get meds,
Yeah.
So-
what was it?
so-
Early 2000s? Like.
It was 2012, so like
Yeah, that's right
so
before.
it was still-
Like, yeah.
it was still kind
It
of
was kind of making a little buzz, but
Yes.
not really
Yeah.
enough.
So I was able to like go to the ER and get
Yeah.
pills.
Nice.
And stuff like that. And eventually I figured out how to get them around here. And,
Yeah.
And, yeah, I just continued doing what I was doing out there, out here, and making my family super miserable, you know?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Sorry, fam.
Yeah.
Fuck, man. So, how long did the pills were in the picture for you?
I feel like, well, so shortly after that, I had a friend, my best friend from high school in Oregon,
Mm-hmm.
happens to actually be from San Diego.
Okay.
It's really weird. So my best friend in Oregon, who I met in Oregon, graduated high school with in Oregon, is from San Diego.
Originally.
Family's from San Diego,
Wow.
and the
Crazy.
rest of her family lives on Catalina Island.
Oh, okay.
Now this is right after we had both gotten out of college. You know, when I came back down here.
Yeah.
So she was living out on Catalina,
Okay.
and she was serving and bartending out there.
Yeah.
And she kind of was like, I don't know, I would go visit her from time to time. I think she could see that I was struggling
Sure.
a little bit. And anyways, I ended up moving out there and living with her.
Okay.
Out
Catalina
there.
Island.
So at that point, I stopped doing the pills.
Okay. Dang, did you kick
But
cold
I
turkey?
didn't stop like
Oh, okay.
partying.
Well, there you
I
go.
don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. So we partied a lot there. It's kind of all there is to do.
Yeah, Catalina Island. That must be
Yeah.
a trip. It's just a party island all day.
Yeah. So
Is it big? Like, there's a lot of people that live
so
there?
the town of Avalon is 1 square mile.
Oh, fuck. That's
So no, yeah, and everybody drives around on golf carts, and
Yeah.
it's a super tight community.
Right,
Everybody
that makes
knows each
sense.
other.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So for the next couple of years, I would just, drink and drink
Yeah.
and drink
Yeah.
and so that was my little break from pills or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But when I eventually did leave Catalina to come back to San Diego, I kind of picked up right, where I had left off.
Mm-hmm.
I got a bartending job. Well, it was for the same restaurant that I worked for in Catalina.
Yeah.
They opened up one in Coronado.
Yeah.
So I had left Catalina
Catalina
to
Island.
come open up that restaurant in Coronado.
Yeah.
And people that I worked with just they also partied.
Yeah,
but
right.
I think that's how I got reintroduced back to pills. So it was somebody that I had worked with.
It kind of goes with the industry too, though.
It does.
Everybody.
It's why I don't do it anymore.
Oh yeah, of
you know?
course. Yeah, I can't ever go back there. Fuck that.
Yeah.
I was only like a busser, a cook, a dishwasher. I never want to go back in that industry again.
It's. I would love to. I'm like really good at it, and
Yeah,
I made really
it's
good money.
Good money.
Especially working in high-end restaurants
Yeah,
like that.
yeah.
But
Friday, Saturday nights, you'll make your check.
yeah. But like you said, it goes with the industry, and so it was one of the things that I had to give up.
When I was a dishwasher, this fucking bartender just gave me a beer straight up. Here, man.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, thanks.
Yeah.
And I waited for him to leave. I poured it out real quick. That was good.
Oh, this is in recovery?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like fucking 3 years sober.
Yeah.
I had just got off probation too, by the
I
way.
know.
So I could have drank.
Yeah.
I mean, legally, I was fine. I was
Right.
good to go. But
You'd already made that decision.
I made the decision.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't want to do it again. But yeah, that was hilarious. I was like, oh, thanks, dude.
Yeah.
Like, nobody ever did this for me when I drank.
Right?
You
Isn't
know?
it funny how that works?
Yeah.
I know. Stuff like that happens to me all the time.
I know. How
I
annoying.
was never getting stuff handed to me
No.
back then.
Fuck no. And once you start doing good, it's like, oh, here.
It's the devil.
The devil's coming. Hey. Okay, so when you started working at this restaurant in was it Coronado?
It was Coronado.
Yeah. Where did how did things go from there?
Well, like I said, I started doing pills again. I was drinking a lot.
Yeah.
Everything was still pretty much the same, you know. Um, um, I during that time, or like a year into that time, I had reconnected with an old high school boyfriend,
Oh, okay.
um, who I went to high school with out here,
Okay.
and he was kind of like, you know, like
Yeah.
when I think about like my high school sweetheart,
High school sweetheart.
even though this was just my freshman year in high school, you know, I
Right.
think about him. It
Left
was
an
somebody
impression.
that I was very connected to. That
Yeah. You guys stayed in
that
touch?
no,
Oh,
but
okay.
I always thought about him.
I
You
see.
know, I even had this picture of us that I kept for years and
Wow.
years
Holy
and years.
shit.
So anyways,
Yeah,
I'm,
right,
I'm
right,
on
you see 'em.
Facebook,
Yeah.
and
There it
then
is,
back
Facebook.
when it's like, you know, like people you may know,
Yeah, right,
or
right.
something, and I seen him and I was like, oh my gosh. So right away, you know, I friend request him and he messages me right away.
Right. Yeah,
And
right
we
back
start
at you.
talking, and we meet up later
Yeah.
that day and hang out, and like the rest was kind of history. You know, I don't think that there was a day that we were apart. We started dating.
Mhm.
It very much felt like fate.
Yeah,
You know,
fate. Of course. Yeah, the planets aligned, and here you
and
guys are.
like I said, like I'm super codependent. You know,
Yeah.
I
Goes-
for whatever reason, that's just something that I've always struggled with. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like just like wanting to feel loved, and like wanting that like long lasting
The perfect.
whatever.
the
I'm like that
perfect-
with my friendships. You know, I
Yeah.
hold on to things I shouldn't.
Yeah.
So I felt really like just connected and like intertwined with this person. I just really immediately.
Yeah.
But I didn't know. Like there was several years, you know, all that time I lived in Oregon,
Mhm.
that I didn't know, you know, where he was or what his life was like,
Sure,
or what he
yeah,
was
yeah,
doing, and I
absolutely,
didn't
yeah,
really
yeah.
ask. I
Right.
didn't really
Nah, you didn't care.
I
Yeah.
didn't, you know, in my mind, even though I had been like partying and stuff, like somebody like going off and turning into like a heroin addict or a meth addict and doing prison time, like that was way outside of
Right,
anything that
At that time, yeah.
I understood
Yeah.
or knew,
Right.
you know. But that's kind of where his life had taken him,
I see.
and I didn't really know,
Yeah.
you know. And it's funny, you're super oblivious to like, you know,
Right. You're seeing things in the tunnel vision.
yeah. Like it wasn't. I mean, I guess it was weird when he would like stay up all night to me, but
Oh yeah.
I didn't
sure.
really think. I mean, I certainly wasn't like, oh, he's doing meth, you
No,
know.
yeah. Oh, he's just like a wild guy. He's having trouble.
Or like
sleeping.
being strangely like suspicious about things, or like, you know, the like paranoia. And I thought it was just like,
watch you
it
be.
flattered me a little bit. I thought he just like, you know, he just loved me so much that
Yeah.
he was like, you know.
Oh yeah, for
You
sure.
know?
That's what it was. You were like his drug. He was like,
Yeah.
I love Brittany so much.
Yeah, codependent me loved that
Yes,
until
absolutely.
I didn't, and it was like really weird, you know. But I remember we were like drinking, or I was, because
Yeah.
he didn't really drink, but I did.
Mhm.
And one night, and he like gets up, and I already kind of noticed like things were a little weird.
Sure.
I don't know. He was behaving weird,
Yeah.
and now I realized he'd probably been up for several days, and
Yeah.
and that's how we get, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
But
yeah.
he drops this like giant bag
Mhm.
of drugs,
Uh-huh.
and he doesn't even realize it.
Oh, of course.
And this would be a pattern
yeah, yes.
throughout. You know, this is
Comes
just
to your
something that he does.
benefit.
Yeah.
It's right here.
No, or not to my benefit. You know,
Uh-oh.
like where'd the drugs go? But anyways, he drops this
Yeah.
bag,
Yeah.
and as he's going to the bathroom, obviously he was going to the bathroom to like do some of it, and he
Right.
was trying to be sneaky because I didn't know anything about
Right,
it yet.
right.
And I was like, oh my God, it was more drugs than I'd ever seen, you
Oh,
know?
Wow.
And I, in my head in that moment, I was thinking like, whoa, this is trouble. Like, you should just leave. Like, I remember that really strong feeling like this is bad.
Yeah.
You need to go, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that I did go. Like I went and I sat out on the porch, like thinking about what was I going to do, you know?
Right.
Anyways, he comes out of the bathroom in a panic, kind of like, you know, and
Like a 2-1 act.
tries to like slide his foot over it and like, you know, hide it. But anyways, I was like, oh, I seen that. And he tried to tell me it was like cocaine, and I'd done enough cocaine to know that that wasn't really true.
Yeah.
And anyways, that's how I found out that
special cocaine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's how I found out that he was a meth addict.
Oh, wow.
Which was, you know, I still had that, like, you know, that idea that, like, people that did meth were gross.
Yeah.
And that was weird,
Right.
you know?
Just like most people would.
But I was super entwined in the relationship, and I loved him. And so I was super conflicted on what should I do, you know?
Yeah.
And, of course, he gave me the whole spiel, like, I'll stop.
Oh, for sure.
You know?
He'll change.
Yeah.
I'm going to change.
And I thought that was reasonable because he loved me, right? You know, why would...
He absolutely will.
Why would he choose drugs over me?
Why would he do that?
Why would somebody do that? That is so weird.
That is,
you know?
insane. Insane to me.
Yeah.
I've never heard of such a thing.
Yes, I hadn't. You know, I hadn't at that point. And,
shit.
and
Fuck.
so going forward, this would be something that we would fight about all the time.
Right,
You know,
right.
He said he was going to get clean, and now I'm on to him. I know when he's being weird or when weird stuff's happening, you know? And it became a huge issue.
Yeah.
We would fight about it all the time to the point where it was just like super toxic.
Yeah.
And at some point I realized that either I was going to lose him, you know, or I needed to step into his world.
Yeah.
You know, and that's when I started using meth.
Oh, I see. The slippery slope.
So slippery because I'm like the kind of person that just takes a swan dive to the bottom.
Yeah.
You know, there's no you know,
no progression.
No,
of
when I see people's pictures of you know, them in active meth addiction where they have makeup on or they talk about going to the casino or doing things no, I was stuck in the closet because you know, because I could not be in public.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Just burnt.
You're on one.
Burnt. Whole face of scab. Burnt, you know?
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yep. So we did that for a while.
Yeah.
My memory is not 100%.
Oh,
so
no,
I don't know for how long, but several months, I think, you know? I mean, not a long while, but several months.
Sure. Sure.
And until I found out that I was pregnant.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah. I found out that I was pregnant. And I was so excited.
You were?
You know, I was so excited.
Yeah.
Probably that codependent part of me again.
Oh,
now I'm okay, now we're going to have a baby and we're going to have a family and for sure he will stop what he's doing, you know.
Right off to the sunset together.
Yes. Delusional.
Right.
Delusional.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh no.
And so that pregnancy would turn out to be the most stressful thing of us back. You know, I stopped doing meth, obviously. Good. You know, well, not obviously because
sometimes,
but
I
did.
I get
you know,
you did.
And he did not. And he would, so we were back to the I'll get clean, and he would go to programs, and I think he went to the Freedom Ranch 10 times. In that, you
nice.
know,
Good record. 10.
But it was, you know, it was super stressful. I think my mom didn't want nothing to do with him at our house. So I would be super pregnant and we'd be sleeping in the truck. That's how codependent I was. You know, I just wanted to be with him. Right. You know, and nothing was going to stop me. Right. Nothing was going to stop me. And anyways, towards the end of the pregnancy, he got really bad. We split up for a little bit.
Okay,
And,
sure.
I was so stressed out at one point that I went into like preterm labor, and I ended up in the hospital. And for whatever reason, while I was in the hospital having that preterm labor, the doctor gave me like a little prescription of oxys.
Oh.
Okay. It was like 10 pills, 10
Yeah.
5 milligram. It was Percocet, nothing, but it was enough for me to like, obviously to trigger me
Yeah.
back into that.
I
But
see.
also like the way that I justified and rationalized the
Yeah.
fact that like the doctor gave it to me. So like
Good to
it
go.
was no problem
Green light.
for me to go out, and then I'm just like,
Yeah. Yeah.
getting pills. I'm back to like connecting with the guy from the restaurant.
Oh
you know,
God. Uh-oh.
Picking up. I had this other guy who was like somebody that I had dated in the past before him that used to like he's no longer with us either. I'm like the more I think about it, like I have so many ex-boyfriends that are not here.
Oh no.
But yeah, so he used to go over to Mexico, and he was like, I don't know, he was bringing me way more pills than he should have been.
Yeah.
And and I got super strung out pregnant.
Oh God.
Like
Right.
further along in my pregnancy, and that was something really, I don't think that I was able to like actually admit that until recently. Or like I still justified and rationalized the fact that the doctor gave it to me, so I was good.
Good
So
to
when
go.
people would ask me like, "Oh, did you use?" No.
No. Right.
But anyways, so that kind of kicked that off. Again, I did I had heard about like people's babies getting taken from them
CPS.
for being pause talks and stuff like that,
Right,
and
right.
obviously I didn't want that. So I detoxed myself like
Oh,
a month
God.
before
Cold turkey.
it was gnarly.
Oh,
Yeah.
Fuck that.
Yeah.
Oof.
It was super
Brutal.
gnarly.
Yeah.
But I was able to get myself clean
Just
in
in
time
time to get-
to deliver my first son, River.
Yeah. River.
And but that I was not, so I delivered him, and then I was already on the phone with that guy that I got pills. I
Right,
mean,
right.
I had them
Right back.
waiting at my house whenever we
Wow.
went home.
Ready to go.
I continued to do pills and be a new mom, which was a lot. All while struggling with this, baby daddy who cannot stay clean for the life of himself.
Yeah.
One thing I forgot to mention was during this pregnancy, I discovered that not only was baby daddy a meth addict, but he was a heroin addict.
Oh.
And that was something that he hid a little better from me.
I see.
Until one day he had like gotten out of the shower, and I found like
Equipment.
foil.
Foil,
Yeah.
yeah.
Foil he dropped it in the tub. Like
Yeah.
I said, he liked to drop stuff. He was not.
Oopsie.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that was out to me. I was like, oh, hell no. No, I'm not doing this with you. You're like, meth, one thing, heroin, nope,
Yeah.
that's
heroin,
gross.
that's the worst one.
Yeah. But while I'm like all strung out on pills,
Yeah. Right.
and I had been working and bartending and making good money.
So
So
you were-
like buying pills had never been an issue for me. But at some point it did become an issue to afford pills and like buy like the special formula that my son needed
raising,
and like
raising child.
all that, and he got this bright idea that I don't know how he got me to agree to it, but to take the last bit of our money that we had, and he's like, and I'll flip it. That's the terms he used. I didn't
see.
really
A
know
businessman.
but really he meant he was gonna make money off of heroin.
Yeah.
You
Selling
know,
heroin. Yeah.
and so he would kind of do that or whatever while I was taking care of the baby. But a lot of times he'd be like, "Oh, you want to try it?" And I'd be like,
Really?
"No, hell no." You know,
Fuck,
you want to
dude.
try it? No, I'm good.
Yeah.
You want to try it? You know, and eventually I told him like, you need to stop asking me. Um, and mind you, I'm sick. I'm like sometimes doing pills, but
Sure.
you know, like I'm sick.
Sometimes,
So
yeah.
eventually, you know, and I told him like, stop asking me because eventually I'm not going to say no.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what had happened.
Yeah.
And so there I am, new mom.
Mm-hmm.
And I am in full-blown meth and heroin addiction.
No shit.
And it didn't take long for like our families to like catch on, because like I told you, I take a swan dive to the bottom. Like
Yeah,
I'm trying
yeah.
to be as high as possible.
All time.
And yeah.
Yeah.
So eventually CPS had gotten involved and all that stuff, and I would later get River taken from me.
Yeah.
I think that's when I like really kind of just got a case of the
Right.
F-its,
The fuck hits you.
you know, and around that time I would notice like I'm doing the same drugs that he's doing, but like he would be like smack back, like,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Gout out.
you know, head in his lap, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? Like, how come I can't get that high?
Yeah,
You know, it's
right.
not for lack of trying, because you know,
Yeah. You sure tried.
because I was, and I finally think I realized like he's shooting up these drugs.
Oh.
You know?
I see. So before it
Right?
was, I see. I got you.
And I told him I wanted to do that, and he kind of said no, like
Really? Okay. That was his boundary.
maybe,
Maybe.
but still, I think it was like he liked to really control like how much I did, and even if I bought the drugs, he'd have to hold them, like
Yeah.
like one of those, you know.
A little possessive.
And so I think that's more of what was going on. But maybe you're right. Maybe like, you know, he knew what could happen,
Right.
you know. And so he let me try it once. He did more meth than heroin, and I got like super sick, and I didn't like it very much,
No,
you know. But
yeah.
he never let me try it again,
Oh,
and
okay.
I wanted to just do heroin.
Yeah,
you know, once
exclusively.
I found heroin, I didn't really like.
Yeah.
I did meth, but
Yeah.
that was not
It was.
that
it
was
was
not
an
my
important-
drug of choice.
No,
Yeah.
no. It's like whatever.
So I'm like stubborn, you know. I'm like, oh, well, I'll do it myself, you know.
Yeah.
And I had one of my family members is a diabetic, and so I just stole some needles, and I sat
Okay.
in my bathroom and taught myself how to
Yeah.
shoot up,
How
and
you
it
do
was
it.
kind of it was cracking from there.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I've lost custody of my son.
Yeah.
I have really what felt like at that time nothing to live for.
Yeah.
I just did not see a way out, you know? And at some point I don't know, they kept like telling me like CPS and stuff. They were trying to get me to like go to a program
Right,
and
of
like
course,
fight for
of course. They
custody,
want you to-
because like
they want you to get
they
it
want to
together.
reunify
Yeah.
mothers and children,
Of course.
especially when they're young children like
Babies,
that,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
And so I would give recovery a go
Sure.
quite a few times, and it just never really stuck. Like I wanted so bad to like be able to like be a mom and like to not want to do drugs, but I could not want to do drugs.
Yeah.
You know, and it would be like the littlest things that I felt like I couldn't get through without doing drugs, right? Like
Right.
like I'd be sober, and like cleaning my room would trigger me. I'm like, I do not want to I can't clean my room if
Yeah.
I'm not high.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and
God.
so anyways, that's kind of how I got introduced to recovery, though.
I
Was
see.
like I really wanted so bad to do the right thing, and one thing I can say is that I never stopped trying to do the right thing, even though I would mess up
Right.
so much, you know.
Right. How old were you when you first tried recovery?
I think that I was like 27.
Okay. pretty young, very young.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it hasn't been that long since then. Like, and so this is all happening really fast.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, I hear stories like your story or like other people's stories that like talk about like using drugs at like 14 years old. I'm like, bro, I would have not made it out alive. You know, like I could not have lived like that for that long. You know, like I needed to get clean when I did, or else I was not gonna make it out.
Yeah, no, you
know?
you had a very strong run though.
Yeah.
It was like
it was solid.
All in, full fucking pedal to the pedal, dude.
Yeah, straight to the bottom.
Straight to the bottom.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So so you first tried recovery. Were you going back on like the hard stuff, or was this when it was?
Oh yeah.
Oh okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, once I hit that needle, like I mean, the obsession was real for me. You know, like I started to feel like no matter how bad I wanted to stop, that I was not gonna be able to. And also like I just didn't feel like I tried to fake the whole recovery thing, or like you know, and I had a lot of people that were really supportive, and I learned a lot of good stuff in the programs and stuff like that, but like I could not kick that obsession. Like I could not. You know, and I would make it like periods of time, but I think that I always knew that I was not gonna gonna stay clean, you know? And at that point in time, like, even though I knew the severity of my disease, like, I still had that, like, you know, when they like say like, oh, we tried to like switch drugs, or we tried only drinking at night, or we, you know, like I had the idea that like I could figure out some way to like manageably do some drugs.
Right.
You know?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know. I that's the only thing I can think of.
Yeah.
I just I could not kick that obsession. It was so, you know, that pull is so strong. Like it is so strong. I feel so bad when I like see people like in that struggle, because and you know that there's no way out until it just happens.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? There's no like surrender until you're ready.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Yeah, it is.
That is really scary. Anyways, I had, you know, throughout that like treatment, I don't know. I think I went to an outpatient program for women and children where I was for just shy of a year. Okay. You know, and I don't want to say that I stayed clean that whole time, but I managed to like manage, you know, and to make them think that I was clean.
Doing good. You're doing great.
Time, you know, but I would still like, you know, do things that I would not recommend people doing in recovery. Sure. Because I wanted to feel some kind of altered state, you know?
Right. A little escape.
Yeah. And so I'm not sure after like how many times I went to treatment, did I relapse and it got really bad, but and I it's so funny because like at that time I could not imagine it getting any worse. No. And it was about to get so much worse, you know?
Yeah. Always does, doesn't it?
Yeah. I remember like during one relapse, like we couldn't find anywhere to like pick up from. And he's like, well, like, this is still the same. My son's father, you know, he's like, I heard about this place. Yeah. You know, we'll just drive down there and we'll park and we can find it. Right. And he's talking about the Bottoms in downtown.
Oh God.
Yeah. And
Here
so,
we go.
and so, you know, we go down there, which ironically, like I've, you know, lived in San Diego for a long time, grew up in San Diego. I don't think I ever knew.
Yeah. The Bottoms.
Yeah. I didn't. Because when I seen it, I was like, what in the hell, you know?
I'm in another world.
So we park and we just start. We look for the first dude that's like nodded off, you know, and we just ask him if he can help us out, and he walks us down Commercial. to a tent,
Oh,
you know,
nice.
and we picked up there, and like
Oh my God.
I swear to you, we never left.
You
know,
permanent
like
vacation.
this was awesome.
Fuck.
You know, it was just,
nice.
you know, like why would I need to go anywhere else?
Right.
Why would I need to? I do not want to go anywhere away from here because this has everything that I need.
Everything you need.
You know,
Fuck.
and that was in a time where, like, I don't know, being homeless was cool because the cops didn't mess with you like they do now. You know, everybody pitched up their tents, and you could just leave your tents.
Yeah.
You know,
And, that was when they were changing the laws to misdemeanors, all those, like, remember, like, the drug laws and the theft laws, and they just kind of were like, whatever.
Yeah, they let people be down there.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt so free to just,
Yeah. Fuck,
you know,
dude.
to be me or who I
Yeah,
thought
you
I
can be
was.
whatever
at
you
that
want
time,
down there.
You know, and
God damn.
yeah,
Yeah. I know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah,
It's its own little world.
it is. It is, and I never saw myself leaving there.
Oh shit.
You know,
So fun.
yeah,
Is that where you met Benji, right? In the bottoms?
yeah, yep. That's where I met Benji. I love Benji.
Yeah.
I love Benji.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so glad he's clean.
Yeah.
You know, when we're like, I don't know, the people that I know from downtown, and like thinking back to the times that, because there's several of us who are clean now, but back then, like, you looked at those people and you were like, oh, these people
done.
ain't never
Done.
getting
Yeah,
clean.
they're done.
Like, this is their life.
Yeah.
You know,
Mhm.
and so much so that you can't even imagine having a life outside of that.
Right.
You know,
Right.
yeah, what a miracle Benji is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Absolutely love him.
Yep. So I would stay downtown being homeless for several years.
Yeah.
You know, be in and out of jail.
Yeah.
I don't know. Things that's when things got super gnarly for me. You know, eventually being homeless downtown would not be so fun. There was back when there was like, I don't know what it was. There was like, I don't know if they like played it that way or what, but they said there was the big Hep B breakout.
Oh, I remember that.
And all the people in the hazmat started like spraying the streets so they would move everybody around.
Fuck, really?
You know? And it got really hard to be homeless. Even for a period of time, they started arresting people for being homeless.
Oh,
you know,
no way.
like
I can't believe
illegal encampment or
Encampment,
I don't know.
Yeah.
So it got rough.
Yeah.
You know, people that like made a life for themselves being homeless. It was not like that anymore.
The party is over.
Yeah, it was over.
Oh,
it was over, and things got super sketchy. Really quick.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And anyways, yeah, yep. That was my life,
for a while.
For a while, and I did not see a way out of that.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I would start to like get arrested more often, and it just became the norm to me. You know, I would like get arrested and I would get out like, you know, a week later and then go right back to it and right back to it. But eventually, I got arrested for like more than just like my public intoxication and stuff like that. I got
more serious crimes.
Yeah, like some like fraud and theft charges, you know?
Yeah.
That actually my mom had placed on me in a desperate attempt to save my life, you know?
Right.
And so I did some time and long enough to make the decision in jail that I was gonna give recovery another shot, you know? And I don't know, that didn't actually happen. Like I was supposed to, I had plans to get released to a program that I specifically wanted to go to,
Oh,
and they
see, I
sent me
see.
somewhere
Ooh.
I did not want to go
not cool.
to.
Not cool.
Yeah, somewhere really not cool, and like where they like read all your mail and they listened to all your phone call. It was just
Oh,
weird.
shit.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was
yeah.
weird.
Fuck that.
I don't even remember the name of it, but it's like
Yeah.
a women's. It was like Casa something,
Oh.
but not the one you're thinking of, and it's like in North Park or something.
Oh, really?
And
Really?
yeah,
Okay, okay.
I cannot think of it, but it was not the spot to be.
No.
Okay, it was not. And so I ended up
Ooh.
like dipping out of there. And I didn't really want to use, but like, where else do I go? Like, I
Right.
can't call my mom because I just like bailed out of the
Bailed out of
program
rehab
after
that
I
you're
made
supposed
all
to go.
these promises
Yeah.
to like,
you talked a big game and you can't deliver.
So I go downtown and there I am, and I kind of had the idea that like I wasn't gonna use, but it's not really possible to just like be on the streets and stay
Right.
clean,
Yeah.
and I started using and I linked up with some person that I used to buy drugs from, and we went I don't know, like a thing down there. It's like going into the library, the library
I know
downtown,
which one you're talking about.
and
Yeah.
using the bathroom there to do drugs and bird bath or shower, brush your teeth, whatever, and I did too big of a shot
Too big. Yeah.
for how long I had been clean, and
Yeah.
I had my first overdose experience.
Wow. First OD.
Yeah, I remember like just like I like come to, and there's all these like paramedics looking over me, and I just remember like I mean it was a lot to take in at the moment, obviously, but I remember this like look of relief on their face, like they did not think that I was coming out of that one.
Yeah.
And I don't know how long the person that I was with left me there. I don't know. It was probably a long time before somebody found me in that bathroom on the 8th floor of the library, because we would go all the way up to the top floor where people don't go that much.
It's not as much.
Yeah. And anyways, that was enough to scare me. I ended up getting in contact with that program that I wanted to go to when I was in jail.
Okay.
And man, I just remember like I was so desperate. They kind of gave me the go around.
Sure.
That I just had to wait for a bed or whatever. But I just remember like hitting my knees and like crying. And now I realize like I used to always say like crying out to a God that I didn't believe in. And like, it's funny because God was so present in so many moments of my story.
Absolutely.
Now looking back, that I just was completely, I just did not.
You just didn't see it then.
Yeah,
that's it.
Yeah, but I just cried out to God, just like get me out of this situation. I even like envisioned myself like going to this treatment facility and hitting my knees there and like just. I don't know. It was a trip. I knew that I wanted to be in recovery, though. And I knew that that's where I wanted to go. I had been there once before. They let me have my kid there. That was like my main goal, obviously.
Yeah.
And the fact that there's places like that where women can recover and still have a relationship with their children is so beautiful.
That's awesome.
And so I went into treatment again, which actually would be the last time that I ever went into treatment.
Okay.
And I completed that, and
Awesome.
I was on probation for
all
the
that.
felony stuff that had happened, and so I was super compliant with that. I went into outpatient program.
Okay.
Like I started to do the recovery thing, got a sponsor, but I still just didn't feel, I had that God problem.
You don't like the God thing.
I just like, I was faking it again, but having fun while I'm doing it. And I think that I genuinely wanted to stay clean, but I was not
Isn't that
doing the work,
all you
honestly.
need to do, though, is just want to stay clean?
Yeah. I started working. My mom let me move back in where I like regained a relationship with my son, and everything was looking really good. And I would get about like 18 months of clean time
Yeah.
before I'm working, and I started dating a guy who
Yeah.
was not in recovery, which I don't recommend for people early in recovery,
Sure. Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. It could be a conflict of interest. Sure.
And he smoked and he drank, and I just like really fell in love with this guy so much. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was probably codependent me again,
Sure.
but I just love this guy so much.
Yeah.
And for a long time I would tell him like, I can't do that. I can't do that. But he really wanted me to just,
Yeah.
Yeah,
come on.
he for the first time he wanted me to be a part of his world,
Sure,
and
sure.
and so I would end up drinking and smoking with him.
Yeah.
And I remember telling him like, I can't do that because like once I start, you are not going to be able to get,
Yeah.
you are going to be like, WTF.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
And that's hard to explain to somebody that doesn't do drugs. Like,
Right.
he was actually an alcoholic and had his own issues, but he did not do the things that I did, and I would get drunk with him. And I remember one time we're like in Chicano Park and we're drinking and we're getting drunk, and he goes to go to the bathroom and I just dip on him.
No shit.
I'm like, this is like, I want to go get some real drugs. You know?
Yeah.
And and I don't think I talked to him for like 3 days because I stayed downtown shooting dope,
Fuck.
and
Wow.
and it got really rough. And I tried to like keep my job in this time.
Yeah. Of course.
Which actually my boss at this place that I worked at in Barrio Logan she was in recovery, and she was in my actual support group. So she knew like,
off the bat.
she knew things to look out for. She knew
Right.
Right.
The signs.
I remember telling her like one day when I was still clean, like, how you'll know I'm using is like, my
shit.
neck will be all messed up,
Oh, that's
because like I
hilarious.
like to shoot up in my neck.
You're telling on yourself.
And that's what I was doing,
Yeah.
because that's what we do when we're clean and we want to stay clean and we want people to look out for us,
Absolutely.
And so she realizes my neck's messed up, and she's
God.
like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And anyways, things spiraled. I think this relapse did not last very long, or at least the shooting drugs part of it.
Right.
I realized like a week into doing heroin that like, oh my God, like I have my son back.
Right.
I have a job. Like I bet like my family's happy with me. I've gotten these things that like, and I really just did not want to let everybody down, especially not my son. He had been through so much.
Right.
And his dad still hasn't gotten it right. So like he's been through a lot,
Absolutely.
So I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna stop.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop
There we
this
go.
crap.
That's it.
And
Just stop.
so I do.
Okay.
And like a week into me stopping, I'm like sick. I'm like sick. And I had been like
Really?
dealing with it to the best of my ability because like I just felt like I deserved to not feel good.
Yeah.
Like how could I throw away everything that I had just worked so hard,
Right. Right.
And finally like the sickness that I was feeling got so bad that in the middle of my shift at work one day I call up my uncle and I said, I think I need you to pick me up and take me to the hospital.
Wow.
Because it was gnarly,
Oh.
and I was like torturing myself trying to
Yeah.
like stay going to work and stay like,
Yeah.
because I just felt like that's what I needed to do, but I was like sick, and so when I get to the hospital, they run some tests and it took them a while to figure out what was going on because like I said, I'd stayed clean for a week. So like I wasn't like, testing dirty for drugs or anything. And I was refusing to admit it to them at the time, They're like, well, did you get any dental work done? I'm like, what's up with all these weird questions? And, so they let me know that like, that I have a blood infection, that I have endocarditis but I'm also septic, you know.
Oh,
And
fuck.
had I waited any longer
Oh God.
to, well, first of all, they could not believe I had been going to work for a week.
Like what?
They're like, you are crazy, you know, and that I was not gonna live like another day.
Right. Right.
You know, I had sepsis and this blood infection that was attacking all of my major organs,
Yeah.
and
Oh God.
and my heart, the valves in my heart were not. They were just like flopping. They
Mhm.
were not doing their job. In turn, I was getting like blood clots throughout my body because they weren't working
Mhm.
how they were supposed to, and they let me know that I needed to have emergency open heart surgery, and I was
Right
like,
away.
whoa, you know, like this is crazy,
Yeah. Absolutely.
you know, and so yeah, I had to like.
Good.
My life changed drastically,
Yeah.
really
Absolutely.
suddenly. I
Yeah.
went from like being in recovery clean to like
Now you're
going
gonna
on
have
like a
surgery.
little week relapse, and then
Yeah.
now I'm
Life
like,
and death surgery now.
yeah, yeah,
Fuck, dude.
yeah, and so I have the surgery,
Yeah.
and um, and I'm on like a lot of pain medication, and like as
Yeah.
you can tell from my
Uh,
story, like just like the littlest amount of pain medication will set me off.
Right.
Yeah, that's just
right.
the way I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Nope.
know, and so I'm like hustling these nurses for, you know,
Anything.
the maximum doses of everything,
Right,
you
right,
know,
right.
and I end up getting like super strung out on hospital meds
Yeah.
the whole time that I'm there, and after the surgery they would send me to a nursing home
Mm-hmm.
where I stayed strung out on drugs. So when I was healed and it was time for me to be released from the nursing home, I wasn't like clean
Yeah.
by any means, you know, and so I was unable to stay clean.
Shit.
And I would try, you know,
Yeah. Of course.
I would try. Um, I ended up, you know, a couple months after that. Um, I the infection like never really went away, so it started attacking my heart and my organs again,
Yeah.
and I had the infection really bad. And mind you, during this time, like the reason I'm having such a hard time staying clean is like when you have an infection like that, it like you're sick.
Yeah.
Like I can't even explain it. It's like being like, I don't know. Like, have you ever had cotton fever?
Oh no, no, I have not.
Okay. Well, it's like that.
Mhm.
Or like being super dope sick
Yeah.
all the time.
Oh God.
And
Okay.
and
Well, I know that.
and doing heroin was the only thing
that would help you.
that made it go away.
I see.
I swear. Like,
The
you
only
know,
medicine.
like the only way I could eat a
Yeah.
little bit of food, the only
Yeah.
way I could keep any food down,
Yeah.
the only way I could sleep.
Yeah.
So that was making it really hard for me to stay clean because
see.
this infection,
Yeah.
you know, the very thing that made me feel better was the very thing that was keeping me sick. And it was
Absolutely.
just, it was gnarly.
It's a terrible trade-off.
So anyways, I end up really sick again, and I go to the hospital,
Mhm.
and I'm immediately put in the ICU because again, they're like, we cannot believe that
Right.
you are alive,
Yeah.
you know, and while I'm in the ICU,
Mhm.
I hadn't had like me and my son's father had split at this point,
Sure.
and like I said, I had been in recovery for a period of 18 months, and he
Yeah.
was not,
Right.
so we didn't really
Talk.
communicate.
Yeah.
You know, he had like a visit with my son. And so they had called me while I was in the hospital. I mean, I don't have a clear memory of what it was,
Okay.
but my son, this is during COVID time, and my son could not come see me in the hospital. No one, like no children
No
could.
children, yeah.
And my son had something he really wanted to give to me.
Yeah.
And so his dad said he would bring it
Oh.
to me,
Shit.
you know? And I'm so sick. I think it was probably really scary for his dad to see me like that, you know? And he's like, I got something that'll make you feel better. And so he gives me heroin.
Okay.
And I start getting, you know, I can't stop doing heroin at
Yeah.
that point. I'm in the ICU, like clinging on to life, and I am doing a bunch of heroin. in the hospital, you know,
Oh,
and
bad.
they moved me to a nursing home where I continued
Yeah.
to do the same thing,
Keep you in
you
high.
know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I continue using in this nursing home. It was like, it's so blurry.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like
No,
to
for
me,
sure.
it's funny because like recently this nursing home was in National City right here in South Bay.
yeah.
And like, I was so screwed up in that time that I didn't even really know where it was.
Right.
But it's
Been
like
there.
over by like Paradise Hospital.
Oh, yeah, I
And
know
anyways,
that.
I end up driving past the nursing home kind of recently, and it
Yeah.
all like flashback
Oh,
to me.
for sure.
Like, you know,
Yeah.
but I was so screwed up I didn't even know where I was, you know. And towards the end of the time that I was in the nursing home, baby daddy ends up getting arrested, and I'm like, crap. You know, I'm
Yeah.
so strung out
Yeah.
on heroin.
Yeah.
And I guess I should add too, like, I've hit the darkest point of my life. I'm
Right.
so sick, and
Mhm.
like, I don't know, that sickness just,
Right.
you know, to the point where I'm like suicidal
Right.
now,
Right.
you know. And I had this like PICC line that like they had placed
I
in
remember that.
in my arm,
Yeah.
going straight to my heart so that they could administer the antibiotics
Yeah.
to me.
And you shot up dope in there.
And yeah, and I'm just like, and I'm not just like shooting dope. Like I'm doing lethal amounts of heroin with the intent to end my life.
Right.
Like something just told me that like my life was gonna end in this stinky, disgusting nursing home anyway. Like
Right.
I, for some reason, just felt like
You're ready.
I was meant to die
Ready
there.
to check
you know,
out.
and for whatever reason, I never did die. You know, and like I said, baby daddy had gotten arrested, and now I had no way to get drugs.
Yeah.
So I left there. And I go, you know, I go downtown, you know, to my home away from home. And this is where things get really crazy because like, also, I didn't add, but like when they were like treating me in the hospital, do you remember what E-Study was?
Yeah.
Where they like pay you to treat
yeah.
your abscesses
Yeah,
and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Well, they paid me to treat my heart infection,
Fuck.
you know?
Wow.
And so I had this check,
Ooh.
you know, it was like $1,200 or whatever.
Well, that's a pretty good check.
But after like
Yeah.
spending some money, I had like $900, and I go downtown
Yeah.
with my $900, and
Yeah.
I'm like, which is big ballin' for downtown
Big
life,
ballin'. Oh,
you
fuck
know?
yeah. High roller.
Yeah, in the bottoms.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody has $900. But
Not for long.
yeah. And so I go to this guy who I've always bought drugs from, and with my $900.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to just I'm like, I'm gonna buy enough drugs to like end it for real.
Sure.
Like I am so done with life at this point. And it was like such a dark place.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And this is a guy that I always bought drugs from, and he was super cool. And he like, you know, I tell him that I want to buy this much heroin. Can you help me find it?
Yeah.
And he looks me in the face and he's like, no.
Wow.
I'm like,
Shut down.
excuse me? You know?
Shut down.
And he's like, he just like shook his head. I remember he just looked so sad, and he's like, you do not belong here.
Wow.
Like, you need to go home, and you need to go home to your family.
Wow.
You know? And that was such a crazy moment for me because, first of all, why did he just tell me no? Like, you're homeless and you ride around on a bike and,
and
have nothing but your backpack on your back. You know, like that's like, this is your literal job is to sell me drugs, and you will not sell me drugs.
Yeah.
You know, that was
Refused.
crazy to me. But like, I had this like eye-opening, I guess, spiritual awakening moment in that moment. Like, and mind you, like nothing could get me to get clean. Like nothing could make that obsession go away. Not losing my son, not going to jail, not being homeless. None of those things ever could get me clean. But in that moment, I was like, oh my God. oh my God, like if this homeless drug addict
Right.
can care about me enough to like want to see me live, like maybe, just maybe, like maybe I can care about myself enough to give this another shot, you know?
Yeah.
And I would never use meth or heroin again after that, you know?
Fucking awesome.
I still had a little problem because I was still really sick, though,
Well,
you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
And I would end up back in the hospital.
Yeah.
And so they tell me again, like, you have to have open heart surgery.
2 open heart
Oh my God, I can't believe you're alive,
Yeah.
you know?
Right. A medical marvel.
But at this point, I was honest about my drug use and
Yeah.
stuff like that,
I
you
see.
know? And the doctor had told me, like, if you mess up this heart this time, we're not saving you next time, you know?
Yeah. Understandably.
And so I would go on to have open heart surgery one last time.
Yeah.
And this time I made a decision that
Never get in. Never again.
yeah. I think that like I was prescribed pain medication
Sure.
after that surgery.
Yeah.
But
Did you?
instead of not taking them,
Yeah.
I just I don't know. I just had this idea, like, I'm just going to do them all really fast and then I'm never going to do them again. And that's
there
what
you
I
go.
did. And
Wow.
it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
And I didn't really get clean at that time, but, like, I had people in recovery, like, that had been, like, watching this whole journey, like, in
Right.
terror,
Hey, yeah.
you know, that were there to open me with welcome arms. And I still continue to, like, smoke weed. I still had that idea that, like, I wanted to kind of, you know, do whatever.
Sure.
I just didn't want to do heroin and meth anymore,
Right.
you know?
Right.
And so I started going to meetings all while I was still smoking weed, and I
Okay.
started hanging out, and I started getting my relationships and making friends, and really enjoying the people in recovery,
Yeah.
you know? And people got really sick of hearing me like, oh, I smoked weed again, you know? Or
Yeah.
like, I'd like get like, you know, I'd get a couple weeks, but people would have in their calendars on their phone, like when I was supposed to have 30 days, and they'd be like, oh, congratulations on 30 days.
yeah.
And I'm like,
Sorry.
I don't have 30 days. Yeah. And I got really sick of disappointing people, you know? I got a job from somebody else in recovery,
Yeah.
working at a grocery store, because I felt like, you know, this little cashier job was all I could really handle, and I didn't even know if I could handle that, and I didn't even know if I was going to stay clean, and I
Right.
was sick of letting people down.
Right.
And I ended up like in this like work family of like, it makes me sad.
Aw.
Like it makes me like overwhelmed to think about, but
Yeah.
like, I ended up being so loved by so many people that just wanted to see me do good and that believed in me, even though I couldn't see those things in myself.
Yeah.
That eventually I just decided to like go all in.
Yeah.
Right? I was gonna go all in.
Yeah.
I was gonna stop smoking weed. I wanted to be in recovery, and I wanted to take that 30 days, and I wanted to take that 60 days, and I wanted to take that 90 days, and I wanted it to be honest.
Yeah.
And so on October 2nd of 2020, I went all in, you know.
Yeah.
That's my clean date. I got
Oh,
clean.
yeah.
It was 3 days before River's birthday, and I was
Yeah.
able to like throw him a birthday party
Fuck yeah.
and do all those things that I hadn't been doing for so many years, you know? And yeah,
That's fucking
recovery's been a ride since
Yeah,
then.
it's
And
been.
like so many things have happened, and
I know.
and in that time I really had low expectations for the things I wanted out of my life.
Sure.
You know? I just wanted to
Absolutely.
like not
Yeah.
want to use drugs.
Don't get high and
I wanted to
get a job.
be a mom to the best of
Be a
my
mom,
abilities.
yeah.
You know, but I couldn't see myself like having a driver's license or like having like a good job
Oh,
or
wow.
like making, you know, good money
Yeah.
or like
Healthy relationships.
healthy relationships. I couldn't, I still had like a really low self-esteem, and that's something I still struggle with. But
absolutely.
But what I can tell you is that my life today is like whoa, compared to those little expectations that I had, and I owe that all to our community of people in recovery, and to God, and I still have that job.
You held a job.
I held that job, and I went from being a cashier to a grocery manager to a store manager, and now I'm a company manager that oversees all of their
Big
stores, and that is like so much bigger than, I said, those little expectations,
Absolutely.
and outside of that, like, I get to do cool things. I had another son,
yes.
in recovery.
Jasper.
Yeah, and like the mother I get to be to my children today is like, it's all I ever wanted, and it's so much more than I ever thought that I could do, I'm a football mom,
Football
mom.
All
my time goes to my children and to my recovery. And, I just recently got a new sponsor, and,
cool. Really?
and, and working the steps again. And, life is so good.
Yeah.
I don't even know like what to say about it, because
will you allow me to say some things?
Yeah.
Because I know it can be it could be overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate you introduced me to one of my favorite meetings.
Yes.
Every Tuesday.
Yes. That's still one of my favorite meetings too, by the way.
Yes.
Even
And you also give back to the homeless through your company that you work with.
Yeah.
Twice every year.
Yeah, we do it every 3 months, so it ends up being like three times a year.
3 times a year.
Yeah.
And which is really amazing. I love doing it. I try to make it every time. Sometimes I'm late. I know.
So in those little expectations I had for myself that I talked about, that was in there.
Yeah.
I knew from the gate. I knew before I even got clean that I wanted to be of service to that community. And so. So
that's awesome.
I love to give back to those people, and I hope that I mentioned that a lot of us don't make it out.
I know.
Me, Benji. I know that we have a mutual friend that you grew up with.
Yeah. Yes.
Aaron.
Yeah.
Like miracles, like people that never thought that their lives were gonna go beyond being homeless drug addicts. And I know now that that it's possible to make it out of that life, and I just hope that we could show those people down there, that their lives are worth saving, and that nobody's too far gone to, So
absolutely.
So that's one of my favorite parts about being clean.
Fuck yeah.
Doing that stuff.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate you as a friend. I really, really do.
Yeah.
It might have taken you 2 fucking years to be on here, but I really love you.
Yeah.
You are such an amazing person. Yeah. And I mean, I didn't get to see you at your worst or anything like that, but I've seen the person you become, and you're evolving, and it's really amazing.
And you've heard the stories.
I've heard the stories. I heard quite a bit. I heard quite a bit. I mean, and there was some witnesses.
Yeah.
No, but you're an amazing person. I really appreciate you. And supporting my brand too. You were in the first photo shoot I ever did with Carissa.
Yeah.
And Ro, and that was awesome.
I always support you. I think it's so cool to see what it's developed into.
Yeah, right.
I remember like when we first started being friends, and you were had your little stickers.
The stickers, the shitty little
stickers. With no intention of it turning into this big thing,
No.
And now all the people that you help and the way you're of service to the community, and it's like super beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that.
Well, thank you, Brittany.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think it's going to be a wrap.
Yeah.
Yeah. All righty. Well, goodbye, everybody.
Bye.